I would like to form a criticism towards one of Vee's videos. I don't know if he will see it or not, but that doesn't really matter. I have to say I do not follow him all that closely. So far I saw his opinions on podcasts with Arch and Sargon. I think he is a really good guy, but on this case he is wrong. His obvious dislike towards George Soros and limited research leads to a few misplaced arguments. As for the video quality, I am sorry. But that really shouldn't matter. George Soros attacks hate-mongering of Viktor Orban's Hungary. This is the video. I did not find any corrections on the channel, so I take that this is still his opinion on the subject. And if this video exists, I am sorry. I will not read the article for two reasons. One, it wants me to subscribe to them, and fuck that. And two, it doesn't matter for my argument. Another thing, I might sound a little bit weird, that's because I am quite sick. But I wanted to make this video before the election, so sorry. Let's start then, shall we?
So I really like this very interesting article posted in Financial Times, and I like it because of how biased it is.
With all due respect, this article just as biased as you are. The difference is that you are because of information that you're missing. And the writer because of a political agenda. Or the same reason you are. Or pure malice. And I have to clarify this now. I have no love towards Soros György. I really don't like his push toward globalism and all that other jazz. But I don't like when people try to manipulate me. But we will get to that.
Basically, they talk about how George Soros attacks the hate-mongering of Viktor Orban's Hungary. And George Soros is upset that Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, treats George Soros as an external enemy. And according to him, this is an attempt to mislead voters and cling to power. Now, what I find interesting is that the journalist doesn't feel the need of adding that many nations across the world don't really like George Soros that much. One of these nations is the nation of Israel. Maybe it's also a little bit of hate-mongering in Israel, isn't it? This is why Israel doesn't like George Soros. It's in order to cling to power. Another nation would be Russia. Also, hate-mongering, it's such powerful, happens everywhere.
And incidentally, Hungary have real strong relationships with these two countries. Foreign influence can be a really strong weapon.
If you criticize George Soros, you're hate-mongering. I wonder if any of this criticism could be legit. I mean, it's George Soros himself that brags about how he broke the Bank of England. You would think that maybe other governments could be worried about a person who has the power and then brags about how they did it. Maybe these are things to be mentioned in this article. It almost sounds like, this is like such a nice guy that did nothing wrong. It's just governments of the world suddenly hate him for no reason. So apparently Mr. Soros has allocated billions of dollars to his pro-democracy and human rights foundations. And he had resisted responding publicly to the attacks of Mr. Orban, but it was time to speak out. He said he now fears for the safety of civil society groups that his foundation support. And that Mr. Orban said he would press the country's spy agency into monitoring their activities. Okay, so what I find interesting about this pro-democracy organizations is that they're against the democratically elected Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
To be fair, nowadays even cats, dogs, and some chipmunks are against him.
I mean, isn't this interesting, right? So you have one guy who funds pro-democratic organizations that no one votes or elects or has any sort of control over. When's the last time, anyone in Eastern Europe had responded to a poll done by a pro-democratic organization run by Viktor Orban? Who are these pro-democratic organizations representing anyway? Huh? Do they just claim they represent people?
That I don't know, but I'd say outright banning them is kind of a bad thing too.
Because I find it weird. Like, if it's between the NGO and the democratically elected person, I would pretty much side with the democratically elected person any time of the day.
Live here between 2010 and 2017, and I would be interested what would you say about that. But this is besides the point.
No one has any control of an NGO. No one, it's like George Soros is paying them. And I don't care that they're called pro-democratic. Calling something pro-democratic doesn't make it pro-democratic. I mean,
I agree. For one, Orban's party is called Young Democrats Federation, and they are not all that democratic if you look at it.
what do these pro-democratic and human rights foundation feel about the European Union making an army? And the fact that this army is done without the consult of the people in the European Union?
I don't know, but I would like to do so. But the fact is, you don't know it either. So this makes this point kind of irrelevant in this case.
I never voted for an European Union army. My politicians never talked about the European Union army. There was no poll, no referendum. How is this democratic? Why aren't George Soros pro-democratic human rights foundations upset about it? I googled it, by the way. I tried to find out what they say about the European Union's army, which is just like, I would consider a significant issue, wouldn't you not? Right? This is not a significant thing that the people need to be consulted about if you live in a democracy. And then he goes on and says that it's a tragedy for Hungary that its government seeks to stay in power through hate-mongering and misleading the population. So this is like considering that the population is so retarded that they just can't think for themselves. They literally believe anything the government tells them. And if it wasn't for Viktor Orban blaming George Soros, he wouldn't be in power. The people would just do the right thing. But people are so idiots. They need the help of the NGOs and other things to tell them what's really going on.
So, this was a meaty one. Let's go slowly. Viktor Orban and his friends like Andy Vajna or Lőrinc Mészáros control every state-run TV and radio station, and a good chunk of former left online outlets and local papers. You will never hear any real opposition argument on these channels or platforms. This is a really big media empire, where you only hear the Fidesz opinion and their fake news. And propaganda. I don't know about Romania, but I guess it's kind of the same like here. General population is not that smart, meaning if you control every news station around the person, sooner or later they will listen to it. And this is brainwashing. Like when you listen to a song and at first you don't like it, but when it comes up in the radio more and more, you will get desensitized to it. And later, like it even. Also, Goebbels did tell that you always need a political enemy. But this is not the only tactic. They practically sent out money to the old folk around Eastern as a gift. A gesture that did not happen last year. You know what we didn't have last year? Elections. The other thing, there are quite a lot of old people here who are easily scared of the migrants. I am not saying that they should not be, but when my grandmother starts to say, with every other older lady in my family, that they are afraid of terrorists breaking into their houses to blow themselves up, that's a bit ridiculous. They would use stones for that.
And the NGOs just can't cope because the government is so powerful, it just brainwashes people. This way of thinking is cancerous, isn't it? Like the idea that people can't just think for themselves. And it can't be that maybe people are voting for Viktor Orban because they maybe like his platform or they like other things, or maybe people are just nationalistic and they're patriots. They no, because here's one of the reasons, right, why people vote for Viktor Orban. Because Viktor Orban, if you actually look, he's a very corrupt politician. Pretty much like any Eastern European politician, they do have a lot of skeletons in the closet, right? So I'm not saying that this is the symbol of democracy, the symbol of freedom. No, you're not going to find that in Eastern Europe. Every single politician is corrupt. But the thing with Viktor Orban is that he is against the European Union.
As long as he and his friends can take out their share of the money. If the EU would want to kick us out, he would sing a whole other song.
He doesn't want to take refugees in his country. Meanwhile, the pro-democratic NGOs of George Soros, they want refugees in Hungary. Why? I don't know. How is it pro-democratic? What does this have to do with democracy? Like, people vote on a referendum that they don't want refugee quotas. Merkel, a leader of another nation, wants refugee quotas, and yet the pro-democratic George Soros NGOs, they're against Viktor Orban.
You can choose other points that I already listed. Why would someone be opposed to Orban? It doesn't have to be the migrants.
So how are they pro-democratic if they do exactly what the people don't want? And I should feel bad for them. I should feel bad because they're oppressed now. Oh. So let's see how they are oppressed. The toxic between Mr. Orban, who apparently studied at Oxford with the George Soros, what was it, scholarship. Okay, I don't care. I really don't care. People, when it comes about studying, even if you get a scholarship, you still have to get good grades. So this is not like something that I'm impressed in any way. It's like, okay, he benefited from a scholarship. I bet when Orban took the scholarship from Soros, Soros didn't know who Orban was. Orban probably didn't know who Soros was. The fact that you're mentioning here is just...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But your EU army point didn't matter either. So I'd say it's 1-1 now.
So basically, Mr. Orban this month told supporters that Soros troops had infiltrated opposition parties and EU institutions and are promoting globalist values, saying they act like the Soviet agitprop agents once did. We old warhorses know them by their smell. Yeah, it's an Eastern European country who has been under communism, so they do kind of recognize these tactics. I like that at no point that George Soros say that this is not the case. What would stop it from happening, right? Just because something is a conspiracy doesn't mean it's false, right? Because conspiracy theory and is not a synonym with the word false. What would stop a billionaire from hiring people that would go into certain political groups and lobbying for globalist values?
Not a damn thing. But this is a bit paranoid way to look at the world.
Globalist values meaning take as many refugees as possible. Do what Merkel tells you to do. Very globalist, isn't it? Why, like, can you debunk this in any way?
Can you prove it?
They don't even do it. They don't even try to debunk it. It's like, no. This is just look how ridiculous it is what he said. It's like, okay, but is it true or false? Let's change the subject. At the same time, the government has tightened rules for Hungarian universities and NGOs with foreign links, including the Central European University, a Budapest-based postgraduate institution founded by Mr. Soros. EU authorities have launched legal action against Budapest over the laws describing them as discriminatory. Oh. Okay, Hungarian universities. They're sponsored by the Hungarian government. The Hungarian government pays for them, doesn't it? Yes, it does.
Yes, they pay for most universities, but we are talking about one specific one, the CEU, and a few others like 25, but mainly the CEU. They rush to bill through to make it harder, if not outright impossible, to run the university. This is another thing Orban and his friends are on a warpath with, the higher education. But your point will not go against this sentiment.
So as such, if the Hungarian government pays for them, they can tighten the rules for them, can't they? So why should I care? Why should I feel that anything bad is going on? I have absolutely no problem.
I'm happy to hear that. I feel a bit lousy these days. Elections are coming up and I would like some less corrupt politicians. I know, I'm such an idealist. Oh, and since they run the MR2 radio station, the music on it is really awful. more so than before.
Problem. And not to mention, like, do you want them to be like the American universities where students are yelling at deans, where university professors use bike locks to crack people's skulls as part of Antifa? Is this, maybe the government does need to tighten the screw a little bit and have a little bit of order there.
Yeah, you did not do research, so what you are saying is really irrelevant to the situation. I was in university, and in college too. We really don't have that much SJW stuff. But I was called a Nazi a few times. Guess I should stop goose-stepping and change my ringtone from Springtime for Hitler. So, where were we?
Just saying, maybe Marxist professors shouldn't be allowed to indoctrinate children into Marxism from state-paid tax funds. Maybe, like a little bit of order. By the way, Israel is doing the same shit when it comes to Qatarian propaganda, so it's not never heard of before.
Still irrelevant to the CEU debacle.
It's not something that I've never before has it happened. As for NGOs with foreign links, fuck them. If you want to operate in Hungary, you need to operate by Hungarian rules. If you want to operate in Germany, you need to operate by German rules. What is this nonsense of another state having NGOs into another state?
They want to operate. The government trying to stop them from that altogether.
It's a privilege, not a right. So, yeah, he then went on with some really, progressive ideology. It's like, oh yeah, Germany, hate-mongering. How many terrorist attacks have there been in Hungary? Can anyone remind me?
Fuck off. That's weak. Why would someone decide to detonate or drive the truck of peace in the cultural center that is Debrecen? Or Győr? Or Mosonmagyaróvár? The terrorists want the big funfair, they want the Facebook profile filters. No one would do that for Hungary. We don't have that stellar of a reputation. I don't know why the Austrians get off with it for free, but I digress.
During Ramadan, has there been any? No? How many rapes during the New Year's? Compared to Cologne, Maybe.
I don't know how many people work and live here from the Middle East, or how many second or fourth generational families are here from there. Not a lot, I have to say.
Maybe a little bit of hate-mongering isn't that bad, I'm just saying,
I'd say hearing Soros is a vampire for 4 years now, it's not a little bit of hate-mongering. Also, they call every opposition Soros George's puppet. Not just members, collectively, every single one of them.
Maybe the Hungarians should decide who they want to vote for, and the person they vote for can hate-monger as much as they want. And if the hate-mongering is a little bit unreasonable, then maybe on the next elections that person will not get re-elected. So how about that?
Yeah, I sure hope they don't. But as I stated, they did everything they could so that would not be the case. They rewrote the constitution, they changed the voting system, they are corrupt beyond end. Orban just threatened everyone on one of our most important holidays. He refuses to debate anyone. Sorry. I really don't like this government. But that's okay. I'm just as biased as you, Vee. Or the person who wrote that article. So I hope from this you get at least a little idea why would someone oppose to Orban. And if you would like to challenge me or any of my points, I will gladly accept the invitation. Have a nice day.